All right, this is Math 208, Week 3, Section 3.4, using a graph to determine the slope of a line. So we're going to use this coordinate grid to talk about slope. And suppose we have 2 points, and I'm going to put 1 point here, and let's make another point. 1, 2, 3. Let's do another point right here. All right, so there's my 2 points. And I've got my line, and my line looks like this, okay? Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is this has a positive slope. And the reason we call it a positive slope is as you're going from left to right, like you're reading a book, the line ramps up. It ramps upwards as you're going from left to right. And so since it's going upwards, we say it has a positive slope. Now specifically, if we want to know the actual value of the slope, what we do is we take these 2 points that I used to create the line, and I'm going to measure the rise and the run. So as we go from this dot up, we see that it rises 3 and it runs 2. All right, and that's the 2 key components to our slope. And so in this line, because, and for whatever reason, we always use the letter M, we call the slope in this one 3/2. And the reason why that slope is 3/2 is we always write it as a fraction, and we say the rise over the run. So because we go from this dot to this dot, and it goes up 3, because we're right here, and it goes 1, 2, 3. So it rises 3, and then it runs 2. All right. Now it rises a positive 3, so that's why I put a positive 3. And so this is a positive slope, and it's specifically, this slope is 3/2. All right. Now, if I wanted to choose, let's kind of move around here, and let's do another line down here, and let's zoom in a little bit, and let's make one of the dots right here. And let's make the other dot right here. And then if we want to create that line, we'd say, all right, here's the line. Now, this line, we say, has a negative slope. And that's because as we're moving from left to right, so from left to right, you see it's going downhill, so it has a negative slope. Now, specifically, if we want to know what is that slope, we're going to zoom in, and remember, slope is going to be that rise over run. All right. Now the rise, going from the top dot to the bottom dot, is actually a negative rise because we see that it goes down 2. So the rise is a negative rise. Now the run is always going to be positive as you're going from left to right, because we're always going from left to right. And in this case, the run, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is 5. So we've got, if we want to think about it, we could say a positive 5. So our fraction down here is going to be -2/5. So our specific slope on this line here is -2/5. Okay, now I'm going to show one last thing. It's kind of cool. Let's do something really crazy. Let's do, let's say a dot right here. We're going to go a dot right here. And let's do a dot right here. And then lastly, a dot right here. All right, so we're going to zoom out so you could see what I did, and you can see that those dots are all forming a nice, beautiful straight line. All right, and because that line is heading up, it's going from to the left up to the right, we say it has a positive slope. And remember, if we want to know that slope, specifically, we're going to use the letter M. That is about the ugliest M ever. Okay, and now I'm going to zoom in. Now here's the really cool thing about slope. All I have to do is choose any 2 points on this line, and it will give me the slope. So if I wanted to, I can choose 2 lines next door to each other. 2 dots next door to each other. And in this case, this is up 3 over 1. So you could see that my slope is 3 over 1. But if I wanted to, I can choose a different set of dots. I could choose this dot and this dot way up here. So my slope, it would be a rise and a run. And in this case, my rise is a 6. How did I get that? Because I'm starting down here, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it goes up 6 and then over 2. So my slope is 6 over 2. 6 over 2, but that reduces to 3 over 1, just like this little slope down here when I was comparing from these 2 dots, and I had a slope of 3 over 1, and if I skipped a dot, I get the same slope. It's 6 over 2, but it reduces to 3 over 1, so it's the same slope. So in this case, our slope, no matter what, is 3 over 1, but we can also just call it 3. All right, so that's the kind of the quick rundown on what slope is. So now that I've given you the rundown on the slope, all this stuff is really easy. This line, does it have a positive slope, a negative slope, or a 0 slope? And the answer is it has a positive slope because it's going up. As you are moving from left to right, this line is going up. So on this line is an interesting line because, remember what I said, slope is the rise over the run. So it's rise over run. So what we could do is we could choose any 2 points on this line, and I'll choose this point and this point. And if we wanted to talk about the rise of these 2 points, as we go from here to here, does it rise at all? No. So the rise is 0. And in this case, the run, it doesn't matter really, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so the run is about 9. So it doesn't really matter because 0 over anything automatically equals 0. So in this case, the slope is 0. Here's the exact same kind of problem, only now the line's kind of way up here. And so we can see that the slope is still 0. Now here it says, if possible, find the slope. And so we're going to look over here, right here. And you can see that that line continues to be flat, right? So if we chose a point here and a point here, and we were talking about the slope, well, what's the rise and what's the run? Well, the rise is 0, so it doesn't matter what the run is. So we know automatically that the slope is 0, all right? So we automatically know that the slope of this line is 0. So what you're going to do is in this box, you would say the slope is 0. Now, down here, The next question is interpret the slope in terms of rise and run. So does the line decrease? No, it stays flat. So that means it does not rise or fall. So the answer is C. So here, again, we're supposed to be finding the slope of this line over here, and we're going to record it right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on this line. Now, the idea is we need to compare 2 points on this line. So what we need to do is I'm going to zoom in, and what we need to do is we need to find where this line perfectly crosses at a point. So we're going to look for this blue line and where it's going to perfectly cross at a point. And here's one right there. I'm going to keep looking, and here's another one right here. So here are our 2 points that we're going to use to determine our slope. And when we go up, what do? We're going up 2. And when we run, so our rise is 2 and our run is 1. So what's our slope? Our slope, in this case, is 2 over 1, which is the same thing as 2. All right, so I'm going to zoom out. So our slope is 2. So the first thing we're going to do is the slope of the line is 2. Now, if we put 2 over 1, technically that would be right, but it would mark it wrong because they want a simplified fraction, and 2 is the simplified version of 2 over 1. And so when we look at that, what does this mean? Well, this means the graph rises 2 units for each 1 unit of run. So the answer is A, and you're going to fill in the number 2 right there. So here we're being asked again to find the slope of this line over here. So we're going to zoom in. Now, one of the things I notice on this graph is I notice that it's got a y-intercept and an x-intercept. And what that does is that really makes it easy for us to figure out what the rise and the run is. So the rise right here is 8. It's a positive 8. And the run right here is also 8. So we automatically know that our slope is 8 over 8, which is equal to 1. All right, so that's our slope. It's 1. And so I'm going to zoom out. So what is the slope of the line? Well, the slope of the line is 1. Now, if you put 8 over 8, technically that would be correct, but the computer is going to mark you wrong because we want a simplified fraction. And then what does that mean? Well, that means, is the rise always something? No. Is the run always something? No. Does the graph fall? No. It's a positive graph. It's a positive slope, so it's not going to fall, which means the answer's got to be A, and it rises 1 unit for each 1 unit of run. Now here's a really cool kind of slope. So again, we're being asked to find the slope of this line. So I'm going to zoom in on that line here. And you'll notice this line is different from all the others that we've done because it is completely vertical. All right, so if we were to imagine 2 dots on that line, oh, let's do this one and this one, all right? And remember, what is slope? Slope is the rise over the run. So if we go from here to here, what's our rise? Well, in the way I just drew it, our rise is 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So our rise is 9. And then what is our run? Well, our run is a 0. It doesn't go to the left, it doesn't go to the right as you move from one dot to the other dot. So it's a 0. Now, if you go back to like 3rd grade or 4th grade division, anything divided by 0, you are not allowed to do. You are never, 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 ever, 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 and I'll write it like 4th grade, 9 divided by 0, you're never allowed to do that. That is an undefined. It's not like the answer is 0. It's undefined because there is no such answer for that. So we say this slope is undefined. And so we finally have our first answer right here. The slope is undefined, which means the next answer down here is also the slope is undefined. So here we're being asked to find the slope of this line right here. So what's really kind of cool on this one is they've already given us our 2 dots. Here's a dot and here's a dot. That kind of makes it easy for our slope. Now remember, what's our slope? It's going to be rise over run. So let's figure out what is our rise and what is our run. So as we're going from this dot to that dot, from the left dot to the right, you always go from left to right. It looks like it is rising, and it looks like it's rising by 3. So we say, oh, the rise is positive 3, and the run is always going from left to right, and it looks like it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our run is 6. So rise over run is 3 over 6, but that reduces to 1/2. So our slope is 1/2. So you're going to put that in your box right here. Now, if you were to put 3 over 6, yes, that would be right, but my math lab would make it wrong because they want it to be simplified. And one last problem, finding the slope by using the graph. And so what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in. Now on this one, I happen to notice that there's an x-intercept and a y-intercept. So let's use those as our 2 points. Now as we go from the left dot to the right dot, our rise is going down, which means our rise is a -6, and our run is going from left to right, so it's always positive, and that is a 5. So our slope is rise over run, which is -6 over 5, and that is the slope. -6, our rise over run, -6/5. And so we need to go over here and enter into that box -6/5. And that wraps up this video on slope.